Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cap Plus channel. We've had a busy week, so you guys have had some time off, and that's never a bad thing. I appreciate you welcoming us all back to the channel, Tom. We were at the IX shows, Tatiana, Kazra, and I, and it was pretty much I wouldn't say it was a week, but I was there for about 5 days, and it was a good time. IX is always a very fun show, and yes, Jeff Wedding, I'm happy to be back. But someone who also went to IX, at least for one day, is Sarahjane, and I'm going to bring her in here. We'll just get this thing started. Hey, Sarahjane.
Hey
You've
there, how
got.
you doing?
I'm doing very well. You're color coordinated. You've got that green plant behind you. You've got green on. I mean, it's there's a green hue to the room and the lighting.
Exactly. That I don't think that there's a green hue to the lighting in the room is in my favor. I just don't do this as much as you. I don't have I want to know what sort of like diffusers and ring lights and whatever you've got staring at you.
I've got two ring lights, and one
Okay.
that's kind of leaning a little bit more to the yellow, and the other one to the blue. And for whatever reason, that works well with the two yellowish lights in the background. So
Yeah.
it's a good combination.
Next
But
time. Next time I'll figure it out. Next time I'll get my mood
well,
lighting on.
I'll send you a list of things to pick up. But yeah, so you were at IX as well. We were just talking about that in the green room. But yeah, I've probably gone about 10 times in the last 13 years, and it's just a fun show because it's a show that you don't get to see that type of artwork at that level with that many artists of note, particularly at the main show. When you get to have artists that I've always appreciated, like a Dave Seeley next to a Bob Eggleton. You got Donato around the corner, and then you have younger guys like Jeremy Wilson and Elliot Lang and Omar Rand. I mean, you name it. There's just a diverse set of artists to see there, and so it's a fun show. I don't think you can compare it to anything else that's out there. But as a first time person attending, what'd you think of it?
I mean, I absolutely loved it. I loved, I loved the energy. I loved the camaraderie between the artists. I loved that you were getting a really different group of collectors, like that. And you also got a lot more what felt like local energy than you often see at
Hmm.
those shows. There were people who, when I was coming in, I saw coming in just asking about, how much would it be just for a ticket for the day? And that's what you get when like the actual community is there to support this. And then at the showcase, I definitely met a lot of people who were kind of like PA based artists, and I don't know, that really, I think, gave it a very welcoming vibe too. And the art was amazing. There's just incredible art, incredible artists. Yeah.
Nope. I agree. I loved it since first going. I mean, you get a lot of even your European artists that make the trip, so it's cool. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people. I've gotten to meet Ian Miller there in the past. Who else have I seen there? I don't know. I can't remember. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's cool. People you would never really ever think you get to see their art in person. You do, and then you discover new talent all the time. Like there's a illustrator named Eric Velhagen whose work I had never heard of before until I saw it, and I love his stuff. It's just got it's just end of day. That's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got to make the trip. I know that
Yeah.
you drove in, but I think you had a busy week leading up to it. But so you were only there for one day, but one day's not enough.
It wasn't enough.
It's not
Next
good.
year I'm gonna stay. Next year I'm gonna stay a little longer. But yeah, I mean, one day, what you can do to get in the room with art. I'm just taking my own advice that I tell everybody else. There's no substitution
Mhm.
for being in the room with art. Getting to meet artists, getting to like actually meet collectors, meet art directors, meet people who are passionate about this stuff. So any opportunity that you have, even if it's one day out of 5, it's still worth it to make the trip if you can.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, we have a lot of heritage artwork to look at. I don't want to forget about that. So we should
Yeah.
probably dive into that. So how, but
Yeah.
before we even do that, can you tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about how, because there's a lot of great artwork on this one, and I'm just kind of curious, what it took to kind of pull all of these amazing pieces together, because this is a special illustration auction, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we I think that what you're seeing is that like energy breeds energy. You know, you have some collectors who have been putting their stuff up. You know, you have some people who have been kind of watching even their friends start to put their stuff up for auction and thinking about maybe I'll give this auction thing a try. You have, obviously, sometimes there's just, the luck of the draw that, all of the reasons why people go to sell things, both good and bad, always come into play. But for me, a lot of what happens is that, getting the time to prepare a sale like this, you also get the time to figure out how to curate a sale like this, how to say, well, how are we telling the stories of these pieces? Because you can't always control, whether 4 Bonestels are going to walk in the door,
Right.
that's not something that, it doesn't happen every sale, and you can't just call everybody up and say, are you ready to give yours up, and expect that they're going to be. But you can, start to say, well, what does that mean? And how does that change how we're talking about some of the other pieces around it? How does that kind of affect the way that we're going to create the heart of the sale? And I think in some ways, one thing that really, to me, feels really meaningful is, we do have the beginning of the Barry Lamka collection in this.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be more examples coming out from it over the course of the coming year. But, that was one thing that when that collection came in, I really did start to think about how much, how much we do have this opportunity to be talking about these 1970s and 1980s artists, and then we do have the opportunity to start, really kind of building on the enthusiasm that we're having for, TSR pieces, for also some of these things that have to do with relationships between the artists and the collectors, or just all of these different little things that to me feel like the heart of why this is fun. But, the very short answer to your question is how does it all come together? Just a lot of work.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the auction closes on November 4th, which I think is next Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yes, a week from tomorrow.
All right. So is that at one of those earlier, like midday starts?
Yeah, it's going to start. Yeah, it's going to start right around, I want to say it's around 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. I could be off by an hour. So please go ahead and actually check your catalogs, actually check your calendars. But yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was trying to look while we were
Hold
talking.
on 1 second. I dropped something that will tell me.
Uh-oh.
I dropped my beautiful physical catalog. So yes, it starts at noon Central, so 10 a.m. on the West Coast, and
Perfect.
1 p.m. on the East Coast.
We got it.
I was right the first time.
I always, they kind of mix it up, or they have been mixing it up. Is it, is it on the half hour, on the top of the hour? But good, we got it.
I'm only ever going to do it on the top of the hour. It's hard enough for me to keep track of things this way. But
now, for that auction, do you actually go down to Dallas for that, or do you stay in the New York offices?
No, I go down to Dallas. I'm in New York right now. We're having actually highlights from the sailor on preview in the New York office tomorrow through Thursday. So if anybody's in the area and wants to check it out, you can come by our offices 10 to 4, and you'll see some very cool stuff. And then I'm going to head to Dallas, so I'll be in town on the Monday. If there's any last minute questions that come up, anybody that wants to talk to me about specific things, I'll be around with the art. I think that's really, really important. I think it's really important to be able to actually, give people one last shot to ask a question and say, stand there with the art and, talk to me about it in your own words, that sometimes there's no substitution for that either. And then on the day of the sale, I'll be in the room, I'll be phone bidding with people. Every so often some people can catch me in the HA Live, room shots, but hopefully they'll be looking at the art instead.
So then, are you going to be at the Collector Summit?
I am. Yes, I'm going to be in Dallas for a straight week because yes, I'm going to stay for the Collector Summit. I hope I will. If anybody's on this and hasn't met me yet in person and is there, please come say hi, introduce yourself. Yeah.
All right. Well, Kezra and I are going to be there, so we'll see you there as well. Should be fun. Maybe we'll go bowling is what I've heard, right? That's what they do on preview night is they go.
That's what they do. They love bowling in Texas. I don't know.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not much of a bowler, but I'll go hang out. Oh man. All right. Well, let's start looking at some of the artwork here because I know I've got a few things queued up, and here is our first piece. Let's see. Let me resize the window a little bit here. I think I zoomed out a little bit. There we go. All right. So this is an American painter. I think we've talked about them before, but I'm not sure. What is it? Chesley Bonestell?
Yeah.
Right?
And Chesley Bonestell, he's like the kind of the father of space art. So not science fiction, but in a certain way, science fiction, because what he was doing was before we, put astronauts into space, before we put, a man on the moon, he was actually creating these, very scientifically accurate representations of what astrophysicists thought it was going to look like. And so his work really served as kind of inspiration, or almost, you could say like, propaganda to build enthusiasm for us putting a lot of energy into the development of our astronautics program. So this one is the earliest of the pieces that we have. This is from 1949, which is well over a decade before you would actually see things like this sort of utilization of these sorts of spacesuits. Like a lot of things that then became reality, he was both designing and envisioning, and it's kind of partially because he was working with scientists to create, his imagery, and partially because the scientists who were inspired to kind of become the next generation, had been raised on some of this stuff, had been seeing in their formative years that the look and feel of space travel actually, kind of feels exactly like it does. So I love his work. It feels like science fiction. It is science fiction, and yet it is reality and created reality.
Well, that's kind of pretty cool that he was able to work with some of the people designing, the spacesuits or, and things like that to give him a little bit of accuracy.
Yeah.
Jeff Wedding says it's Star Warsy. Well,
I mean, that's the thing. Everything is Star Warsy. That's the beauty of Star Wars. It captured a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a different conversation.
So it's already at $26,000. So it's a piece of note, for certain.
Yeah, there are actually the sale starts with 4 examples by him. I think I might have grabbed one of the others as well.
Let's see. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, so
that's first 4 right there.
Yeah. So this is also a work by him, and this is really cool. I mean, both because it just looks as great as that does, but also this was for kind of a multimedia book album that came out in 1961, which is like right when JFK was like calling for us to to get an astronaut onto the moon, called Rocket to the Moon. And so it had a book that kind of explained a lot of the fundamentals of the notions behind space exploration. And then it had all of the images in the books were also in the kit as slides, along with a record with Walter Cronkite kind of just kind of doing the narration. So that was how you would experience it. That's kind of people's first visions of like what it might be like, just listening to Walter Cronkite explain the meaning behind these images.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So you had a couple other pieces here.
Yeah.
No, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to painting like lunar landscapes, I mean, was he one of the first to do that sort of thing? I mean,
he really is like when you're talking about space art, or as some people call it, like rock and ball art, he really was the guy. Everybody who's working in that vein afterwards is kind of really owes a debt to him and is influenced by him and speaks really highly of him. Yeah.
Somebody's trying to get in.
That's somebody in the apartment next to me. I'm not sure what they're doing, but it has nothing to do with me. Sorry about that.
No problem. So this is let's see, it's Douglas Grant, and it's a Tarzan book cover.
Yeah, so this is another one that I just think is fascinating because you almost never see Douglas Grant Tarzan work come to market, or Douglas Grant work come to market at all. And so this is, a 1927 Tarzan book dust jacket cover. And just to me, like this is again what you were saying about how does an auction like this come together. It's not the most expensive thing in the sale yet, but it is one of the most unexpected things. Nobody knew that this was still known to exist. Nobody knew that this was going to come out. And, it's unknown Burroughs pieces, unknown Tarzan pieces. These just you don't hear about these very much, So I was really excited when we came across it. And then when I, learned a little bit more of the lore of it, which, it actually was, originally, it was originally published, as a plate on the laid in as part of the cover, and then got created as the dust jacket when they decided, instead of having these kind of boxes for the book, to just have the dust jacket. So it appears in 3 different forms, all in the year 1927.
Wow. I love the colors on this piece too.
Yeah.
The oranges and the greens, the turquoise. Yeah, it's lovely. Almost 100 years old. That's
I know.
Okay, so Norman Saunders on this one. The colors on this one, in contrast to the last piece, these are just so vibrant, right? The golds, the yellows, the reds, they are very just a very warm painting.
Yeah, I mean, also, we're talking about it's substantially newer. I mean, it's still quite old, but this is from 1950. Yeah, it's definitely, he chose to paint in a much, more vibrant palette. And also this is on board. The other one is on canvas. So the paint kind of wears a little bit differently too. So it's an interesting thing you noticed, because there's a lot of reasons for this. But also, this is just a really, really, classic pulp cover. And also, I'm always excited when I see a Saunders. He's always a crowd favorite.
Yeah, no, I love the blue against the red. As far as the colors working that way. But no, it's a beautiful piece. Yeah. And as Marcus said, it was timeless. Well, I guess you could say that.
That's one way of putting it.
Yes, it is. But
yeah, I mean, I also really love the little, the way the vignette of the figures, at the bottom sort of just melts into the fire, then yeah. The storytelling just goes on and on with that one.
Yeah, I love this one as well.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Next up, Frank Paul.
Yeah.
Always, there's always something interesting from.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've been bringing a lot of Frank Paul to the CAF community, and this one, I mean, what's not to like? It's both, it's both cute and on drugs. There's just something to it.
Yeah. So see, it's what is it? City on Neptune is the title of the piece. Yeah, that might be what Neptune looks like, but no, I mean the creatures are crazy. The colors, the textures, right? I know it's you do keep looking around at those and think they're eyeballs, but I think they're like little huts or something for these.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be their little huts. But I mean, it's also fascinating when you think about we were just talking about. Bonestel and this hyper realistic version of space, and the real commitment that he had in 1949 to telling a story about the potential of space exploration that gets all the details right. And this is the same decade that Frank Paul is coming up with. Well, this is what I think Neptune looks like.
I missed the volcano earlier, but now it's very, very central to this piece. But yeah, they don't seem to care. I mean, but no, I love this piece too. These are fun.
Yeah.
And there you go. So it was used in it looked, they even did some weird color changes on the piece a little bit just to make it stand out different.
Yeah, well, they used it first. It appeared as a back cover in 1941, and then it appeared again on the front cover of Fantastic. So yeah, it was the back cover of Amazing Stories, and then it was so cool they just decided they had to use it again.
Mm-hmm.
Can't blame them.
Nope, no, not at all.
Yeah. Slightly different crop, but.
Malcolm Smith.
Yeah, so Malcolm Smith. We have another pulp cover. We have another pulp cover again with a space theme. And to me, this feels very much more like you can tell the influence, of Bonestell. You can tell the influence of people talking about kind of what it would, both in terms of like the writers of science fiction and the kind of public conversation. This certainly, obviously, the spacesuits themselves, and definitely those, the helmets, they're not very realistic, but you can tell that they're actually starting to think about like, what might the technology actually look like? They're thinking about, satellites. They're thinking about, how you're actually going to be doing like actual science on the moon when you get there. And I think that's really an interesting kind of point when you're thinking about kind of like the way none of this is being created in a vacuum. And I think, he's just got such a talented eye for kind of like shading in space. And you think about how it would look, on the cover of the digest, and the where the voids are for the text, at the top, it's just, and then they just ruined it by putting that big banner across it, but that was not what he intended at all.
Right. Exactly. No, it's a beautiful.
You can tell he was so thoughtful, and they didn't do it at all. But
and what's the size of something like that? 18 by 14. So,
which is a great size for great size for comic art collectors, I think.
Agreed. Valigursky. Now, I know you're a fan of their work. I thought the composition on this piece alone is incredible.
I mean, I had a hard time choosing between this and the Valigursky that comes after it, but I really, I think I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of also the way he's like doing weightlessness in this truly absurd, not realistic way, but that still captures that feeling of, captures a feeling a little bit of the dislocation of space without really actually being terribly accurate to it. And why are there just wooden crates,
That's the things I was questioning too. His hands are exposed. There's wooden crates in space, and boy, that delivery's not getting made, unfortunately. But no, I love it though. I mean, look at that. I think it's just it's a beautiful painting, and I love the composition on it.
Yeah, exactly. I think the composition on this one is really what sells it, and the way that like the foreground is, I mean, just it's an unusual way to decide to light it, so that the bottom half of the image is really just feels much darker, so it gets that feeling like you're falling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. No, that's really nice. So, what was the other? Just curious.
This one I just love the face he's making. The goofy little.
I thought you were going to pick this
and like
one.
he's at a ride at the carnival,
Yeah, he's going through some weird space test or something, right? Yeah, he is not happy. Well, if he passes, he gets to go to the moon. That's all. Yeah, that was a cool one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Well.
And now we're at this one. I mean, I just decided that for this time I was going to take us through the sale and the way the sale is going to roll out, and I mean, what we've been to the moon about 16 times already in the sale. We've been to Neptune, and now here we go. We've got a princess on Mars.
exactly.
The
So this
princess
is from
of Mars, but she's on
1970.
Mars too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an image that, I say most people in the audience are familiar with. I mean, you've seen it, many, many, many times. And again, it's from 1970. Frazetta, one of his, I don't know, easy top 20 pieces that
Yeah.
always come to mind. And yeah, it's always cool to see these pieces come up to market. I think that his color choices on this are really nice. I mean, everybody thinks of Mars, red planet, and even though he's not going with any reds, the oranges just pull it together really well, and it's in their figures, it's in the planets behind them. Yeah, I mean, I think this is awesome, and it's already at what, 750,000.
So yeah, I mean, so this one, this one, it's going to be hard to tell, what happened. Pieces like this, you never know what's going to happen with them until the day of the sale. But yeah, I mean, I gotta say that we've had this up in the New York office for going on a month. Actually, we've been lucky enough to have this displayed because we had it out during New York Comic Con. It's going to be up through the end of the week with the illustration sale, and I really I have to say, spending this much time in person with it and like getting to know it, there's nothing like a Frazetta in person. Like no matter how deep you look into it, like the composition just reveals itself. The texture, the ways in which it's both, so commanding and also kind of like, yeah, like so easy, like so comfortable in a lot of ways, just really sings to me.
Yeah, no, same here. It's a beautiful painting. I mean, we got to go to the Frazetta Museum finally, so I saw that on last Wednesday, and it was, finally getting to see. I mean, I've seen small Frazettas in person before, but getting to see major works up close and and spend as much time as you want with each painting. Yeah, you realize how incredibly talented he was, because just some of those paintings do look sort of effortless, right? I mean, he knew what he was doing so well that yeah, I mean, looking at this piece, yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand how he could be so good. You can even look at that and then look at his pen and ink work, and he was just as adept, with a pen and ink as he was with a brush. I mean, he's just that kind of talent. Just I understand why you say after 30 days of getting to hang out with the artwork, you really have a better understanding for his work.
I mean, I just think like even zooming in a little, on this one, like you have, like I'm just like thinking about the sword, and the lighting on the sword, and just like how he manages to just like get like that much of a sense of it in space, even though it's such a small detail within the composition overall. He just wasted nothing.
No, he did not. Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was it, the size on that one? I would assume probably a lot like the ones we just got to see. Yeah, 20 by 16. Yeah. Well, awesome. So, well, it's going to find a new home. So it's going to leave the offices in New York soon.
Yeah.
But juxtapose that with this piece by Richard Powers from 1976.
I mean, so I'll so also you asked kind of how I did it and why I did it the way I did it. I really chose to put the Frazetta where we put it because everything changes with Frazetta. So everything you've seen up till then, is coming from artists who, were not laboring under the influence of him, and they weren't freed by the ways in which he kind of exploded opportunities for fantasy and science fiction artists. And I think when Frazetta, not that these artists who we were looking at before weren't inventive, weren't strange in their own ways. Obviously, like you can see a lot of like Frank Paul in this. You can see a lot of other influences, but there is something that happened with Frazetta where all of a sudden you see just kind of like a changing of the guards and how a lot of these artists working in this field were approaching their work. So, I think that is, you're right to go like, oh, wow, that's different, while at the same time, God, it's fun.
It is. I mean, the more I look at it, I didn't see the head in the lower left corner when I first looked at it earlier today. But no, I mean, it's totally awesome. And it was it was a paperback cover.
Yep, that's a paperback cover. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That one's hanging in the office now too. Not for the whole month, just for a few days, but I'm enjoying it.
That's nice, from 1976.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, and I just think you're just really starting to see like a lot of the kind of like bioorganic kind of, like trends that are popular at the time with that, and just, a little bit of like the influence of like, some of the like airbrush school. You're seeing like a lot of different things happening with color. You're seeing a lot of different things happening with style, and like, the like a psychedelic influence as well,
Yeah, I mean, the 70s paperback science fiction colors were definitely like the abstract period for those artists, right? Where they just kind of did a lot of flat planes and textures and translucent stuff like you see here, and and I don't know, they're just experimenting, and that's kind of cool. But it did. I remember because back to one of my uncles was big into sci-fi paperbacks. So I had like a stack of them, and during that era, and they all seemed to have a cover like this.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, though.
Or a little man in a tree. There were so many little men in a tree covers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I feel like that was its own vibe.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know why it just pops in my head, but Drew Struzan passing away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just what a loss. I mean, we haven't. I've never gotten down to the gallery in Texas. I don't know if have you ever made it?
Oh yeah. I've been a few times. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's definitely worth a trip.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not that far from Heritage. But yeah, I mean, like, I think, Ben, who was nice enough to open it up the weekend after Drew passed and had an event, let people in to look at all of it. But it's an incalculable loss. And it's also, because not only, was he, really one of the most significant artists, to be on the scene, in the past 5 decades, he also, I've never heard anybody say a bad word about him. And that's really unusual. So, I've been hearing from people who, he helped along the way in their careers, people who, really admired, respected, worked with him. And, it's really, we could all try to be a little bit more like him in one way or another.
No, I agree. He seemed like a very nice man. I never got to meet him in person. But yeah, I think, I've been in communication with Ben for a long time, even before he opened the gallery. But yeah, it's a trip I'd like to make for sure. And, and you think of an artist like that, like, Drew's stature, Frazetta's stature. I mean, they were artists who were well collected and were well respected in a lot of different ways. Drew maybe more so than Frank in terms of like his like advertising type things, movie posters, those sorts of things. But both had the respect of people who were in creative circles, which is hard to do. But they both were so talented, and yeah, I mean, every time there's so many movie posters that that Drew worked on that that are just classic.
And they both really spawned their own. They both like. It's interesting. They both spawned their own styles and also encouraged other people to be more willing to explore their own styles. And gave boost to whole industries at moments when, like, photography was coming on their heels.
Very, very true. Well, let's we'll move on to that. But yeah, I think that would be a trip I would like to make. I think like you mentioned, if it's close to the offices, maybe
Yeah.
we can skip. Wow, I don't think we can skip bowling, but maybe there's some way to strip into the museum. But Stephen Fabian, here we go. You know, after we did our the last preview that we did, I finally posted a couple of the Fabian pieces that I have. But I've always loved Fabian's work. It's just,
I know.
you know, he's such a great illustrator, and you know, a little quirky, but I mean, but his design sense and, you know, his ability to, you know, I mean, you look at all the stippling and things going on in here, the texture stuff that he does. Yeah, he kind of defined that era of book illustration, and
Yeah.
and this is the Dragonlance.
Yeah, this is from
Okay.
the Dragonlance Test of the Twins paperback, and this is one of those ones that, you know, one of my favorite experiences is like when I see something in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh, I remember, you know, like I know, I just know that one. And this is funny because like that doesn't happen to me as often with interiors, you know. It happens to me more with covers. You know, you can recognize a cover, but this one just, you know, like I saw it and I was like, oh God, that's cool. Never even occurred to me to think that might exist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always one of my favorite experiences in getting to do this. And this is the first, like I said, we're going to be offering selections from the collection of Barry Lamka, who was a East Coast collector who passed away, and he was a very big, you know, he was a very big participant in the fandom, and he was also, you know, really a patron of Stephen Fabian. He was, you know, he was in ongoing contact with him, buying from him, you know, like fronting him a little bit here and there when he was working on things. And just, I was fortunate enough to actually like read a bunch of the letters that they had going back and forth. And, you know, it really made a lot of this work, you know, feel even more resonant to me. Like, you know, getting to read the collector kind of talk about why they might want the pieces they wanted and why Fabian was deciding to sell. Like, you know, he thought he might want a VHS for Christmas, but he wasn't sure. But maybe he'll sell just so he can if he wants it.
Well, that's nice. I mean, you know, I mean, we don't have the artwork we have today if it weren't for patrons like,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
and so so no, I mean, you know, they give the artist a little bit of security, creative freedom, you know, and that no self-doubt that they can continue to work and they have somebody who's going to pick up their paintings. I mean, that's cool. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, just knowing that they corresponded with one another and, you know, debated, you know, whether or not to sell a piece for a holiday, you know, that's great. But no, these are cool to see. It looks like you have a couple other Fabians in this auction.
Yeah.
Next up, George Barr. I think we've looked at work by George before. This is a Red Nails interior page. Okay.
Yeah, so this is a Red Nails piece. You know, Red Nails is a Conan story, so, you know, like, you know, Conan stories, or, you know, it's kind of like we were talking about Tarzan. I'm always excited when I can, you know, be offering things that are Conan related. This is obviously, it doesn't feature Conan; it features the villains of the story. And this was, I believe, this was actually the last Conan story. I could be wrong, but it was really one of the later ones, known to be kind of one of the darkest, kind of like most pessimistic of all of them, which I kind of like. Like, I like that it, you know, that it, even though nowadays when we think of Conan, we've gotten back into, you know, we can't put the Frazetta Conan back in the box, but I do love that this is somebody who's, you know, really thinking about the way, you know, the character was envisioned and the world was envisioned, you know, kind of by the author originally, just as something very, very kind of like ornate and dark and spooky.
Yeah, I love the you know, the throne she's getting up from. I mean, that's the textures on that are pretty cool. And yeah, Red Nails is a classic story.
Yeah.
Right? Even in comics, it was illustrated by Barry Windsor Smith, and it's one of you know, one of comic readers', you know, favorite story, you know, Conan stories as well.
Yeah.
So very nicely done here. And this is what, at $1,100? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of the things are, you know, we got something at every price point. At the very end, I picked some things that are really there's really some room to get in on to my favorite sleepers. So if you got patience, stick around for those.
All right, next up, John Howe. Right now, this is another. Oh, this is a book. This is an interior piece, right?
Yeah. And so, John Howe, I think, is most familiar to people, for Tolkien-related work. He's gotten very well known for that. But this is actually, I believe it's one of the first things he did. He went and he kind of got really invested into Gothic architecture and, cathedrals. And so this book was originally a French language book that he did, which, in English would be cathedral, and in French would be however you pronounce cathedral. But yeah, I just love this. Like, I feel like, it's almost a self-portrait of the artist, and it's, again, both beautiful and spooky. And also, John Howe he's somebody who his work never ever comes up, like it just doesn't come to market very often. So getting to be around it was really nice.
So this one was in the office for a while too.
This I think it's not. I don't think it came to New York. If I'm wrong, I forget. But I
love the lighting on it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. Now, Michael Whelan. Here we go.
Yeah.
So Foundation's Edge paperback cover.
So this is the prelim. The
Okay.
paperback cover has already come and gone. And I'm sure it'll come back around again. But I mean, we have some of the published covers in the sale too. I just picked this because I think it's such a good example of, I don't know how great, the prelims can be, and also just how much artistry goes into them. Because, if I didn't tell you, looking at that, you wouldn't be able to tell. You wouldn't be able to tell that's not finished. It doesn't look, it doesn't look, like lacking or slapdash. It really is him working it out. Him really trying to do it, making sure that, he had gotten it all.
Yeah, no, as a thumbnail, I would have thought it was the original. That's
Yeah.
I didn't think otherwise, but I get it. I think that, sometimes certain creators like to really go all in on their comps, as they're trying to pull something together and give a art director an idea of where they're going with it.
And also, I do also think there are things that when there are pieces that, like, when the fully realized finals come up, they're kind of difficult to get your hands on and get in the game on. And this is one that, there's still a chance at for a lot of collectors, and, who wouldn't want a Foundation related piece?
Exactly. Nope, we have that same problem, collecting comic art. And sometimes we have to go after the prelim because the covers are too expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is just interesting because Michael's work is typically very figurative, right? And so here he's just really focusing in on, the outer space and some foundational structures around, the central figure. But so I think that's kind of cool because it's a little bit out of, not what I think of when I think of Whelan's work. All right, this is obviously a Brom piece. And how big is it? Because I know he can paint large sometimes, but
I mean, it's a fairly standard size. It's like 24 by 30. Okay. So it's which to my mind, I know that's not the standard size for a comics page, obviously, but for me, like 24 by 30 is the size which kind of all paintings are sort of judged against in some weird way. It's like it's one of those standard sizes you can buy a canvas or a board at, and a lot of people are working at that scale. And it's really necessary for him to do what he's doing here, because it's it's got so much, like, it's so intentionally neoclassical that there's something about him working kind of in, the standards that are familiar for those works that makes it really easy to kind of do apples to apples comparisons to it and works that were, created, long before, and then to start to go in and go, oh, it's this beautiful, beautiful woman playing an instrument in the water. Maybe she's a siren. Who is she? Maybe she's a goddess. And then you notice that she's got this chain around her ankle. And then you kind of zoom into the water and you notice that actually, there's an endless stream of skulls around her feet. And the haunting elements of it, only become apparent, when you let yourself linger with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, good paintings always have, interesting stories kind of baked into them. Not everybody is looking for them, and that's okay, right? But I think, a good painter, packs as much into it as they can, as the storytelling elements. But yeah, I love this painting, and Brom's work is fun to see. He was at IX. I mean, gosh, I think like 8 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer. So I got to see a fair amount of his pieces, in person. But yeah, I've always loved his work. I love, I love the way he's handling even the background. That was just kind of fading those trees into into just kind of a solid color. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the Lone Ranger UK says a bit pre-Raphaelite, and yes, it is very, very pre-Raphaelite, and I can never decide whether to use the words neoclassical or pre-Raphaelite. They both feel very true in this. Mm-hmm. And this is another one. Yeah, if you're in New York, come stop by the office, come see it. And we have 2 other Broms in the sale. It was hard to figure out which one to choose. This one is also in the floor session, and we've got another one in the final session.
Very nice. Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, and pieces like that, by Brom don't come up too often. I think, so that's going to be cool. So whoever gets that one will be very happy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So we have a Greg and Tim Hildebrandt piece from Lord of the Rings calendar. So that's Treebeard. Not exactly the way I envisioned him when I read the book, but the thing is, when I remember first seeing this, and how can you not end up loving Greg and Tim with their storytelling approach, the way they envision the characters from Lord of the Rings. I mean, this is just a fun painting, and probably more so just because of those yellows and greens.
I was going to say there's something about the yellow and green that it also, and this is a stretch, but I keep thinking about it, is that it kind of reminds me, it seems like almost like he's telling this story. There's the yellow, there's the green, he's offering his listeners a choice. It feels almost like Matrixy red pill, like blue pill. There's this really there is this sense, and the green is so kind of like ominous and creepy, and the yellow so warm and welcoming. It really feels very both metaphorical and also very fairy tale-ish, and all of the things that people love about the Hildebrandt's interpretation of Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And I mean, and the scale. I mean, that the ways in which that it the ways in which they're so small, and he's so big that it really does make you as the viewer kind of relate to that feeling of the whole world being so epic, and you being so tiny, but in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To me, I kind of agree with you. It's not how I pictured it, but also it feels like what it's supposed to feel like to me, if that makes sense.
Oh, well, no, without question. Yeah. I mean, even sometimes with Greg and Tim's work, they're very, their backgrounds are very highly detailed and things. I kind of like this one because it is a little bit looser in the trees and the mushrooms and all that. It's just kind of, handled in a little bit of a different way. It makes the piece more fun, I think, in an odd and interesting way.
Yeah. And his feet,
his feet.
I love his feet. And I love the way they're They're so committed to, even though the feet are going to be not nearly as noticeable, they are, so shadowed, like that there's so much thought and care put into them.
Agreed. And what do we have on there? 24 already. Well, 30 with the buyer's premium. Yeah. So yeah, that's.
I think, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think that's still a bargain.
Right. Well, come on. I mean, who wouldn't, if you had the money, wouldn't want to own a Lord of the Rings piece by Brothers?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
1976. It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to like get outmatched on that.
No.
Yeah.
Now here's a Harry Potter illustration.
Yeah. I mean, and this is so yeah, we're really going all over the place. But I think one of the themes that's emerging as we're talking is that, there are things that they're never going to come back out probably in our lifetimes. And if they were, you'd probably not necessarily, have a shot at them unless you won the lottery or, sold your tech company or something like that. But this is, Thomas Taylor did the first Harry Potter cover for the first, British book. So he was the first Harry Potter cover artist. And he is not known to have, done much work related to Harry Potter after that. And he's not known to have done many commissions or anything like that. But this is a Harry Potter work by him. It's not published, but it is a Harry Potter work by him. And this is last July, we sold a recreation of the cover that he did for Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for over $100,000. You never hear about recreations selling for that much, virtually ever for any reason. But the appetite for, having a piece of this legacy, for having work by this artist who he was unknown, he was just starting out when he did this, something like touched by this magic, not to, put a corny pun in, but to do so is, it's really special for, fans of the franchise. And I think this is just really an incredible piece to me. And we have a couple other Harry Potter pieces by other of the early British artists that I'm excited about. I'm also excited to have some British artists in the sale.
Mm-hmm. Now, I remember when the recreation went, and it did very, very well. So I mean, something like this, it's a really nice spot illustration. I mean, you get the broom, you get the owl, you get a letter. I mean, my goodness, you even get a skull.
I mean, you get a skull, you get the charm, and I mean, I think it's already broken 10,000. Am I right? Yeah. Yeah,
it's over 13 with the buyer's premium. So yeah, and like what a number one Marvel fan says, that there will be some sneaky bids on this, he thinks.
Yeah.
And it's probable, right? Because again, you're just not like you just said, there's not a lot out there, and people there's always gonna be a collector for something like this.
Yeah.
Now a Winnie the Pooh cover.
Not a Winnie the Pooh cover. Click to the next image.
All right, let's see.
This is actually 5 original studies for the first Winnie the Pooh book by Ernest Shepard, with notes going back and forth between him and A. We somehow are going back in time with the children's literature, but this is, these are some of the foundational, creational images where these characters' look and feels were developed. You can see, the note Piglet. And, this is about the story, the Piglet and Eeyore stopping ears. This is actually interesting. Yeah. Cause it's that's supposed to be a gun in the story. They change it a little. So it's less of a gun. And then on one of them, I think the first one, it says redraw Christopher Robin. And then on another one has the note, why is Eeyore lying on his back? So it's literally them. They're just really trying to figure it out collaboratively. And I love this, not just because, I love the fact that there are these drawings. You can see that, he's working it out in pencil, then he's going over it in the ink. And, then you just end up with this kind of just these really special, relationship like markings. And this is very faded, but this is a letter from Milne about kind of the way in which the coloring is being done in either cover, where we haven't been able to figure out every word in the letter, but this comes from an executive at Dutton who was the American publisher of Winnie the Pooh. So this was kind of given from Christopher Milne, who is Christopher Robin, to this woman who worked at Dutton, who then gave it to this guy when he was being promoted, and just been in the family of the publishing, the publishers who brought us the magic of Winnie the Pooh ever since its creation. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
A true, kind of first appearance or first envisioning of the characters. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's lovely. It's an interesting way they framed it, but irrespective of that, these pieces are fantastic.
I mean, I think they frame, like, you can always reframe something if you don't like it. But I love it, and I love that it comes with the letter, even though the letter is a little bit hard to read, just like getting a letter from Milne itself is kind of a special thing. But yeah, I really, I mean, so the first image that we show, that was a study that then would become, part of the cover. Like, it was the embossed cover of the original Winnie the Pooh. So
a lone arranger agrees and feels it will do very well. I mean, yeah, we've all grown up on Winnie the Pooh one way or another. So no, I think this is great. I don't think we've seen anything like this, or at least you and I haven't talked about a piece like this in the previews that we've done before. So I love seeing this.
And here we have another children's book process piece. I mean, who doesn't love Frog and Toad too? They a little bit of a different, not every generation grew up with them, but at this point it really feels like this. And so this was the initial, cover idea for the second book, which would then be, retitled Frog and Toad Together, I think, instead of Frog and Toad Again. Yeah. And I mean, it's all done by, Arnold Lovell. He both illustrated and wrote these books, and he almost never had color pieces. He almost always, worked in black and white. And then if there was color, that was added during the, book creation process. So having something this early by him, having something that is in color, having something that, has the characters taking up this sort of space. It's really precious is the only word I can think of to describe it.
Right. This is from 1972.
Yeah.
And I do remember the book.
Yeah.
Even #1 Marvel fan says these are bringing back memories.
Yeah. I always want to try to give you some things that are gonna, bring back memories and expand the conversation a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this next piece by Alan Lee is pretty darn awesome.
Is that bring back memories too?
I don't know about that, but I don't remember. I feel like I've seen the image before, but I can't remember if I have or not. But I just thought the thing is just amazing. I mean, you get essentially all the famous monsters. You get more than that. You get the children reading a book. I mean, it's just a wonderful painting. It's something that it's something you've seen before. Artists have done interpretations of people sitting reading a book and being scared or having characters around them. This one, it's painted really well. I mean, the detail in all the figures is above and beyond what you'd expect for something like this. I think it's wonderful. I love the fact that the figures on the left, Death, and the wolves are kind of fading into the fog. I mean, just all around it's just you could see this being a modern cover on like an eerie comic book or magazine sort of thing. It's that good.
And I mean, and the kids, they're not scared. That's the other thing I like. The kids are like delighted, they're it's almost like Yeah, the kids aren't scared. The monsters are as enthralled as anybody else. And then, when you do scroll up into the background and you do start to see that, like, they're less realized, but they're still, every swirl in the background is figural as well in some ways. It all has
Hmm.
this sense of, like, all of the monsters kind of like coming together. Yeah. It's really a beautiful piece.
Yeah, no, it is. That mummy is haunting, and I didn't notice the guy's head right there, but
Okay.
I think if the kids saw that, they might not be smiling anymore
It's
because
true.
that's frightening. But yeah, no, this is a wonderful image. I love
Yeah.
this, and it was used for a book cover too, right? Yeah,
Yeah, that's the Beaver Book of Horror.
got it. From 1977.
Yeah.
Wow.
And again, I mean, that goes back to what you were saying about there is something of a little bit of abstraction going on in it, which was just so big in the 70s. You
Hmm.
don't think of it like so much of it is realistic, but then when you're looking at the background and, all the ways that there's just like suggestion of imagery, suggestion of figures.
All right, now this next one is
Also,
pretty pretty cool. Clockwork Orange album art by
yeah,
Leo and Diane Dillon. So
yeah.
this is a 70 from 73.
Hmm.
Zoom in on that one.
I mean, I just think this one is so cool. And again, I'm not when I'm picking these ones, I'm not thinking to myself necessarily like, oh, this is actually going to have some of the same techniques at play of, kind of like blending together of background and, space and color to create figures and suggestions of figures. But you see, some of the same kind of the same visual language at work in this that you just saw in the Alan Lee. But
Hmm.
we're really fortunate enough to have a few Leo and Diane Dillons in this sale, and they are. I might go out on a limb and say they actually are my favorite. But like their work is my favorite work. They're my favorite artist. Their whole career they were working together. So I think even though it's not quite grammatical, I can say they are my favorite artist. They worked in just a huge, tremendous variety of styles. If you don't know about them, they, were a married couple who worked together on all of these innovative projects from kind of like Caldecott winning children's books. We have something from one of those in here to, poster art to, album art like this, just so many incredible book covers. They were always doing new things with just both technical innovation and style. They would work with like fabric art, just always pushing the boundaries and just like always creating things that you just can't stop looking at. And yeah, I mean, this one's just spooky and tells you the whole story of A Clockwork Orange.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it is, it's got such a graphic quality to it. It's well
Mhm.
constructed. There's so much subtle work going on in the face, and then they have this rigid structure around it to kind of ground it. But yeah, the more you look into it, and you see the clockwork gears in the chin, and yeah, yeah, this is pretty cool. But I'm not as very familiar with their work.
Oh my
So
God, you should get familiar. This is
all
this is
right,
the moral of today is everybody get familiar with Leo and Diane Dillon. Yeah, that's also a Leo and
wow.
Diane Dillon. Yeah. I mean, they're just incredible.
All right, well, I'm going to take this tab and remove it so that I can remind myself to look at it
Yeah.
when we're done. So this is a Charles Adams, obviously,
Mhm.
but gosh, fun, fun stuff. I mean, it's style that's unmistakable. Partially maybe from just the tonal paper, but just artistically, I mean, it's a Charles Adams when you see it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this one has a lot of figures in it too. Sometimes he might only have a few in there, but this one's good. The gag's great.
Yeah. I also love that. I mean, so this is actually like, this is when he's still starting. This is pre Adams Family. So this is like when he's still working out kind of like how he's going to be bringing in kind of like spooky supernatural tones into his work, that like this is this is, for Halloween 1937. This is, kind of like Adams just on the cusp of becoming the Adams that we know. He was like literally like assembling all the characters who were going into this Adams family and his witch work, at the time. So it's really great. You know it when you see it. It's a funny gag. The tagline is like, she shows up every Halloween, and but it also feels like, it's a significant moment in his career too. And it's really well preserved for an Adams of this period. It's just about as nice and clean as one I've seen.
Well, I've never gotten to see one in person, so I'm jealous there. But yeah, this is it's lovely. It really is very nice. Huh. Is this the only Adams in the in the auction?
Yeah, this is the only one. We have a pretty good selection of kind of like New Yorker art between the first and second session with, we've got Adams, we've got Roz Chast, we've got Richard Taylor, we've got a number of artists. And like I don't remember if I picked it or not. We have, an Ed Sorel cover, New Yorker cover. And, so we've got a really nice New Yorker selection. That's something that I am always really excited about, but this is the only Adams this time. So, yeah. And there we go. There's the Sorel. Yeah. And we just had some Halloween. Now we've got some Christmas. I think this is what you want in a New Yorker piece, by the way, in my mind. You want something that is like both commenting on the moment, but timeless. And that's what you got in the Adams thing. You had that kind of very, that very, hoity-toity, sophisticated, like room that felt very 30s, but then it was a timeless joke that still stands the test of time. You have the same thing where you've got the old-timey, Victorian family looking down on these kids with all of their toys, and Christmas past, right. Christmas present.
I know, I love it. What do the kids up in the painting have? They have a wooden boat, a hula hoop, and then what is it? Just a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what on earth? Yeah, but and they have a pet too. I don't see any pets down here in the lower, with these kids.
Yeah.
They
forget to feed them.
Right,
they can't be trusted with a pet.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, that is a very fun illustration. I like that. Well painted, colors are great. Belongs on a New Yorker magazine for sure.
Yeah, got that band of yellow that they're that kind of is like the telltale sign of those.
Yeah, no, I like this one a lot. Yeah. All right, so what do we have?
Oh here? Yeah, this one. I just wanted to mention this one because in the same way I was excited that we had British artists. Jean-Jacques Sempe, he is one of the most famous New Yorker cover artists too, but he's really much more known in Europe. So I'm really just excited that he's starting to come up in America. And this is just a really beautiful, delicate piece. French countryside. One of the things he's known for kind of like sophisticated takes on like his trips to America, kind of like that. That kind of like anthropological, cartooning, satirical, and this is him turning it on, where he grew up. But I just wanted to brag because I hadn't seen one of these in an American in a heritage auction really before. So it feels fun to be doing things like that.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's simple yet, with the the greens in there, and then just the subtle little bits of line work in there. He gets so much depth in a piece that almost shouldn't have it, but yeah. And then he just all the figures are so loose and gestural that it's amazing. It's a very beautiful piece.
Okay.
Leyendecker here. So this is nice. A Song of Faith. And was this a book magazine?
So so Leyendecker really early in his career, and J.C. Leyendecker, he was kind of the most famous, important American illustrator of the 20th century before Rockwell came and stole that title. But this is very early in his career, and it's Egyptian revival inspired, and it was for this series he did for this kind of obscure magazine called The Delineator, where he was illustrating basically like the Psalms. So that's what it is. That's what the Song of Faith is, and it's a little bit before he kind of like happened on what would be his final most recognizable style, but it's like it's got so much talent, it's got so much depth and beauty, and like you can kind of just again like just trace these through lines, like thinking about like the opulence Art Nouveau inspirations, and then like I don't know, starting to think about like these moments in art, and then like thinking about how they're still like reverberating in something like the Brom a little bit, and this was one of those pieces where I was really excited to find it, and I felt like as soon as I found out where it was, I wasn't going to stop until I convinced them that they might want to bring it to auction.
No, it's gorgeous. It really is. And you can, I guess you can see a little bit of Klimt or whatever in there, but it's like you said, it's before he really comes into his own. But I think it's a wonderful painting, really is, and it has I don't know, it's very structural with that background, and
absolutely,
But no.
I mean, you can definitely see, you can definitely also see his style. Like if you're looking at the, if you're looking at the draping, like then like that's, that really becomes his thing over the years. That basically like he does something that's, almost a nude, but is still about the way fabric hangs.
Well, congratulations for getting this one in.
Yeah.
It's always
I
nice.
Really like it. Yeah. And then here's his brother, who we talk about a little bit less, FX Leyendecker, Frank, and he suffers for not being JC, because like you're always going to be less well known if you're any other Leyendecker, but I think he's obviously incredibly well regarded within illustration collectors, and I still think he should be better known. He should be better remembered, because his great work it stands up to anything. I was so excited about that last piece. This piece, it's equally as powerful to me. And like, and her face is so beautiful. The way that like, her, like, it's cropped out, but like, I love the way her point shoes are, like if you scroll down a little, like I just really, it's also got some of that same, attention to the drapery. Like you can tell that they're brothers, but yeah, I really love her feet in particular on this one.
Do you think they shared a studio?
They did for a while. They were very close for a while.
Yeah, well, this one's it's 26,000. What was the? Well, that one's a little bit more, 26. Okay, it's again, like you said, we don't see these too often, so I think it'll be interesting to see where those end up. But I actually kind of am more partial to this one because I do like the subtle silk quality to the painting. He's really captured that really well with the costumes. It's a lovely painting.
It's got a little bit more storytelling, and it's got, I mean, JC Leyendecker, you also have to, like JC Leyendecker has gotten this whole kind of like second wind of new collectors because, he was a gay man who lived, a fairly like, it wasn't necessarily acknowledged, but it was, widely known among, his group of friends. And in recent years, that's kind of become a part of the way people are thinking about him and the critical appraisal of him. So a work like that from 1905 that we just looked at, that, is a kind of like very kind of provocative male nude for the period. That's it's really interesting within the story of his career too. Mm-hmm. But it is, it's like it's more portraiture in certain ways, whereas this is really like illustration storytelling. This is a Vanity Fair cover. It's got to do a lot of work of telling you about society.
Well, we have another piece by JC here.
Yeah, another piece by JC, which, this is kind of his later career, and I always think these are fun because I picked a lot of process pieces for this conversation, and I just love the way he did that. He would just like work out each element, on the same canvas. He would just he would just kind of keep working until he was satisfied. In the final cover, this was for, they end up replacing the old man with a young man, but this is another, and it's another holiday themed piece. We had Halloween, we had Christmas. This is for a Thanksgiving piece.
And it was used on a cover too.
Yeah, this was for an American Weekly cover in the end. Yeah.
Well, holidays are always big, right? I mean, I'm sure that's
Exactly.
what sold magazines back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one that turkey looks pretty well done.
Yeah. And those hands, I mean, just like all of his process things like this, they will have like a million takes on like, do I want to be holding the fork like this, or do I want to be holding the fork like that? Like, that's how he got to be as good as he is, by like thinking through that 20 times before he finalized it.
Yeah, it's very nice, and they're an artist too.
Yeah.
All right, I thought this one was interesting.
This is my, you know what? This might it's so strange to say, but like sometimes I think this is my favorite thing in the sale. Like there's so many great choices, but this is a Rockwell process piece. So first of all, it's a Rockwell. It's a Rockwell that was initially, created, that he was working on this story called Norman Rockwell Visits a Country School. So he's obviously already Rockwell, already the most famous artist in America, like working on a story for the Saturday Evening Post about himself. And this is a study for the final work that would then be in his kind of famous artist school curriculum. So this is something that he chose. He was talking about how he uses like the charcoal drawings and the line drawings to kind of really create the structure and layout of the work so that he, could be as kind of like free and confident as he was when he was creating the final oils. And there's something to me about the fact that this exists kind of as like part of him giving back from his artistic, from his artistic spot on the mountaintop, like to the generations of illustrators that would come after him, that like it just bowls me over to think about and to have like seen in all of those formats. So I really love it. And also it's got all the things you want. It's got the line work. It's got the, it's got the images in the back. It's got, it's got, all of his little details. Yeah.
Oh, and what is it? 12 and a half so far. Yeah. But oh, there you go. I had a feeling there was a completed piece there. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So James Bama. We got here another paperback cover from 1968.
Yeah, just a great. Just a great James Bama. Like I think when he's using those oranges and reds, like that's where he, he's so talented at so many things, but color in particular, and the colors of the West, which is what I think of when I think of those oranges and reds. Like that's where he's unstoppable.
Yeah, that is. It's amazing. I love it. I love his work. Doc Savage covers, but this is awesome. He paints a pretty mean cowboy. Look at that hat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just cool. I mean, the gun is well done. I mean, this is a great piece.
Yeah.
And there's another piece.
There's another one. Yeah.
Davy Crockett kind of piece. That's nice. This next one's really cool. Yeah,
I know.
Frank McCarthy. That's just amazing. I mean, all those figures in there, this crazy raging, river, the dam breaking. I mean, my goodness.
I mean, it just looks like, and it just like the way the composition is, it makes it appear like that guy punched all of those people into the water. Like every single person in the water, came up on that rock to try to get him, and he just knocked them all out. Like it's so, yeah. The number one Marvel fan says badass, and I think that's the word. Like there's just like that guy, you're not gonna mess with him, his pose, just everything about it. So that's movie poster art, and I didn't need to tell you that, because what else could that be, to have like just that much drama in it, and it's Frank McCarthy, so it's got like the great rocks and the great, even though the horses are tiny, it's got the great horses.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of detail in the landscape is pretty darn amazing. And then you couple that with about 100 figures as well. I mean, man, that's just insane. Okay, it's more than 100 figures. I'll go
I don't even know. I didn't count. Yeah, I was on deadline. I didn't have time to count them all.
Right. No. But again, compositionally, it's fantastic. It really is a nice piece. And I did put the link to the auction. I know it's in the show description too, but just in case anybody hadn't checked it out yet, the link's in the chat now too.
Yeah.
All right. So Robert McGinnis, I think we're going to see some figurative work coming up here, but this is nice. I mean, she's McGinnis.
She's Honey West. She's Honey West.
Oh, was it Honey West? I didn't even read this. Oh,
yeah. Well, she's Honey West. Yeah. I mean, it's and it's like, I kind of love that, because like I think of, you really get this. If somebody says like, a McGinnis woman, like, exactly what's coming up in your mind. And this is that, but more than that, this is Honey West,
Mm-hmm.
And just a really, really important kind of like pop culture figure, first kind of a hard-boiled female detective, TV adaptation, all of these things, like just sex pot badass. There's that word again.
Yeah, you beat Tom to it that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, McGinnis's work is always just so dang awesome. But yeah, I love this figure, and again, clearly, so other people are interested in it too. So you got a few bids in there and got it up to 7,500. But no, I think it's awesome. And we lost McGinnis in 2025 as well.
2025, yeah.
So yeah, no, this is awesome. I mean, he influenced so many, of comic book illustrators today. There's no way guys like Jusko or Sienkiewicz don't say that McGinnis didn't have a strong influence over their careers, and just the dynamic paintings, the figurative work. You name it. It's nice. I did not read Honey West though when I looked at the image. I should have.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Robert McGuire on this one.
Yeah. Now we're in the paperbacks, which that's those. I love the paperbacks. They're just even when they're dark, they're fun. Like even when they're dark, because that's what paperbacks were. They were about, much like like they were about like making it appealing, to people without a lot of time, and like who didn't think of themselves as like intellectual to like want to read books. So they had to be like dynamic and daring, and that's still the way that's still the way we're selling books. But like the notion of the paperback cover just drawing you in, this is where it kind of comes from. So yeah, I really, I love the paperbacks we have in this sale in particular.
Yeah, it's a great image. Like the fact they use yellow lettering, for the book title.
Yeah.
Well, it just worked out perfect.
And this one, we actually have a few in this sale that have this conceit where you have the forced perspective. So the hand is really, the hand that's attached to a body that's not in frame just is really big, and like just makes it feel so much more ominous and so much more menacing, and like you're in the middle of the action. This one's a masterpiece.
Stanley Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. And not the last cigarette we're going to see tonight in a painting, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, I like this piece a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. And let's see.
And here we go. Like I said, that hand. Yep. Yeah. Like,
wow.
No.
That's I love the perspective on that too.
I know.
Right?
I mean, it's dizzying. You actually don't realize at first what's happening. Like you actually don't know how to read the image to know that like she's falling.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's great. I mean, yeah, usually you can catch that really quickly, but until I saw the car lights, I couldn't quite make out what she was falling onto.
Yeah. Yeah, no, at first it seems as though like she's like protecting herself against him, and maybe she's like laying down and he's pulling for her, but then you realize, oh gosh, she's falling. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe Jeff Wedding says that's one bad hand. Maybe he was trying to rescue her. You never know.
Maybe. I think the context clue that this is a murder mystery tells us maybe not, but
maybe not. Nope, that's probably true. But yeah, it's definitely. I mean, look at the expression on her face.
She's more shocked than bothered at this point.
Right. Yeah. She doesn't want to lose her jewelry on the way down.
Sorry, down one shoe.
Yeah. So this is from 1959.
Yeah.
Very nice. Let me see here. Oh, I thought this was fun.
Yeah, I know we're really lucky that this sale has a really nice like Coca-Cola and soda advertising Americana pinup section, which I really like the foundational aspect of these Coca-Cola ads to just kind of like our vision of of America at the time. It's like it can't be overstated, and I just love this one. Yeah, it isn't signed, but it hadn't Sun Bloom. It's like who he really he invented this. He invented the house style for Coca-Cola. He trained a lot of their other artists. He created the whole Sun Bloom school that really birthed Elvgren, and like you wouldn't have these like fresh-faced, rosy-cheeked lovebirds without him.
Right. No, it's beautiful. I mean, the just the subtle brushstrokes in the tree even to the figures as well. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's the fun thing is that this is what advertising is where illustration and illustrators were able to make a living. You get wonderful images like this thanks to to advertising from that era. I mean, we don't have that today, really, not to the same degree. So much as photography. Yeah. I mean, this was just a wonderful era for that. So yeah, hats off to Coca-Cola for putting together something like this.
Yeah. I mean, and they were really good. A lot of these actually, when they come around, they come from the families of employees of Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola would really held on to its archives for quite a while and would kind of give out pieces, as kind of rewards, at their giant, company galas. So, a lot of it, like, rather than those stories that you hear about where everything's just going in a wood chipper with, pulp art or, like when various publishing houses go out of business, like Coca-Cola really, like, they knew what they were onto, they didn't not know that they were making special art.
No, I love this image. Makes me want to have a Coke, but
it's a little late in the evening for me to have caffeine, but
yeah. But Elvgren is the next artist here,
and then we got I mean, because you can't like I already invoked him, because not that Elvgren wasn't a talent in his own right, but he really that kind of like mayonnaise style, super creamy, super lush, wet on wet paint that, you know, was the style of the time. You know, he did it better than anybody. And, you know, that's why you love you don't know why you love these women necessarily, but that's why it is in some ways, because they're so warm. They feel like they're, you know, emerging from the canvas. Like they feel so lifelike. And it's because of all of those like subtleties of tone. I mean, of course they're all knockouts, you know, but like it's one thing to paint a knockout. It's another thing to paint a knockout who feels alive.
No, without question. And this is a larger piece too. It's 30 by 24.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nice.
Yeah. And again, you know, it's only one of a few Elvgrens. Yeah, we've got some Metcalfs. We've got a lot of the great pinup artists. I had to back away from talking about them too much because I knew we had a lot of things we wanted to talk about today. But you know. But I couldn't not talk about this one because also, you know, maybe there's a lawyer watching.
Yeah, I love the, you know, the pose being you know, in a courthouse.
Yeah.
I thought this one was really special. I tried figuring out how to kind of crop this so I could put it in as the image on the introduction video.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite get it the way I wanted it, so I gave up. But I mean, just the look on her face. I mean, cross leg in the, you know, in that setting is just awesome. And I think the green with the red just makes her stand out so much more.
And just I mean just like it's got, you know, it's got so much like you know, it almost harkens back to the Honey West. Like, you know, she's some sort of not quite a femme fatale, but you know, like she's quite powerful the way she's being depicted in a very fun way. Like, yeah, there's no court that would convict her.
Right. It's called Case Dismissed.
Yeah.
That's funny. So was it a book cover?
This was a calendar piece. This was
calendar.
yeah.
So okay, here we go. Actually, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, Armstrong, he was, you know, the like father of American pinup. You know, he started working in the 1910s, and like he was kind of on the cutting edge of all the styles like throughout his career, you know, through the 1950s. And he did almost no nudes in his whole career. He did virtually no nudes. And this is one of his nudes in pastel. And you know, it almost feels like a McGinnis, to be honest, with those like legs that go on and on and on, and like the way, you know, the way she's just like boldly kind of like has her face turned towards, you know, the viewer. But yeah, I just really love this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine it's pastel. It's so rich.
Yeah.
I mean, pastels are rich, but again, the idea that this was done in 93 years ago, right? I mean, the idea that it still looks that vibrant, yeah, it was well taken care of.
It's also you know, you hit on something. One of the things he was known for is that like he used pastel like thicker than anybody else. Like that was what he did. He had like a really thick application of it, and that's how he got kind of like these almost reflective surfaces in some of his tones, because there was just like so much pastel on the board, and it has made his work survive a lot better than some of his contemporaries.
It's huge, 30 by 40.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, it goes over fireplace beautifully.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that it wouldn't. That's just, so here we go, Vargas, right?
Oh, now we've got some Vargases.
You've got a few Vargas too, so.
Yeah, we got a few Vargases. I picked this one. It's a Playboy. You know, it's always fun. The Playboys, you know, they were kind of like some of the funnest of his careers, because, you know, that was the vibe of the magazine. I love the purple tights. Again, you know, the way all these artists are using color really, you know, pulls like a lot of it kind of makes them a little bit more individual in a lot of ways. You can like tell that I don't know. I don't think a lot of artists would have used those purple tights. That's a very him touch. Like the pink petty bow is a very him touch. So I love all the ways in which somebody asked me the other day why I love pinup art and why I take it seriously. And part of it is because like when you see these artists going back to these same things over and over and over again in the course of your career, you learn so much about them, and I think like the ways in which each of them are so individual and how their eye works, you really get to know.
Yeah, this is just fun.
Yeah.
Vargas's work is always fun. I mean, you get the hat box and no, I love it. I think it's stunning. And then so you have George Petty pieces and another Vargas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have right after that we have a McGinnis nude too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't see that one earlier.
Yeah. His Richter. Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. Olivia. This one we have a Betty Page. Yeah.
It's a Betty Page Playboy. I think it might be my favorite that she ever did of Betty Page, and that's saying a lot, obviously. This was a Playboy interior. It was also the cover, or not the cover, the picture on the invitation for the Midsummer Night's Dream party at the Playboy Mansion that year. And it's titled Cunning Stunt. So you can imagine, you can imagine how much fun you would have, inviting people over to see that in your house,
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's majestic. Like this comes directly from Olivia. And again, this is one of those pieces where when I saw it, I really was, so delighted, and I wasn't gonna let her not have a chance, and I wasn't going to have her not give me this chance to talk about it, this chance to bring it to the public, because I know everybody's going to love it as much as me. But she's had this, since its creation.
Wow. I mean, that's so it was done for Playboy, but it wasn't something that so she's able to hold on to it, keep it, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, she had a really good relationship with the magazine. They were good to her, and I think that really I always think that, like, you see this a lot with artists. You see that when you see this with Frazetta, when Frazetta was given a little bit more time and a little bit more agency in his work goes up a step. Like you see this with Elvgren when he made the switch from the Louis F. Dow calendar company to Brown and Bigelow, which gave him more time, agency, money and freedom. Like his work just got better. With Olivia, her work for Playboy, kind of like reflects the kind of the fun she was having with her work for Playboy. And I think, like, you see that with the Saturday Evening Post, when people feel like they're working for the magazine that, like, kind of is the magazine of record and is, like, letting them do what they want at the highest level, they do, and she did.
I get that. I mean, because just the opportunity. That's probably Playboy was probably the pinnacle of whom she could work with, and so she's always going to do her best work when you get that kind of opportunity. It's like a lot of the fantasy sci-fi artists today. They're happy that they get the work for Magic the Gathering, right, or something.
Yeah,
that was just
exactly
the pinnacle.
Yeah.
But
we were asked if we got the joke with the title, and we surely do, and that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping somebody's going to place a bid on it just for the opportunity to say, like, oh, do you want to come over and see my cunning stunt?
Exactly. Oh yeah. No, I think it's amazing. The idea that it was used for a party at the
exactly. Of course it was. I mean, it is a party.
Yep. Exactly. I love it too. See, the more we talk about it, I'm sold. This is going to be one of my favorite Olivia Betty Page paintings now. Now we have another one by Olivia too. So this is a Heavy Metal magazine cover.
Yeah. So this is another one that like had this really pinnacle place in her career. And it not only is it the Heavy Metal magazine cover, it also is her first show at Bain Gallery. They took out a billboard on Sunset Boulevard to promote it, and this is on the billboard. This is, I believe, it's on like the cover of the program for the show. So this is really, a really significant piece in the course of her career.
Does it show? No, I thought maybe it might have a picture of how it was used, but
I know. I wanted to try to find ones, but I didn't find ones that were high res enough to get used in time. But I might put one on social media. I'll try to put one on social media.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah.
Just slap a Heritage logo on it and put it up on your socials. But yeah, that's a nice piece too. So you get to work directly with Olivia for when you're.
Yeah. She's the best. Yeah.
Awesome. Soriyama.
Yeah, and we have
always sought after.
We have a few Soriyamas in the sale. I picked this one to focus on both because, I know that, especially after that last joke we told, this is a show for adults, but at the same time, I want to keep it a show that doesn't get kicked off YouTube. So this feels like, it's a Soriyama we can show, and it also, it's a Soriyama, it's a Soriyama sketch from the Sexy Robots, it is everything that, people look for in his work, and also in the ways that we've been talking about with some of these, prelim pieces, like it is in reach for a lot of people in ways that the finals don't always end up being in reach. And I think it is so good. It is so strong. Just as a piece, the line work is so good.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. I mean, any originals are going to be pretty expensive, but yeah, no, that's very nice. I've met quite a few collectors, that love Soriyama's work, and many of them are even happy getting prints because that's
exactly. I mean, and that's the other thing. Like, to be honest, I see the finals coming up more than I see the studies coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I believe that.
Yeah.
All right, back to Mr. Hildebrandt. This was done in 2014. He was doing a lot of good girl art at this point in his career. So,
and I just had to say, like, it's he really focused in on this at this point in his career, and this is as nice as any of them I've seen. The shadow, the kind of moodiness of it. It's a really, really strong example. I think it's really lovely.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's definitely one of the better ones. Not as much as I think he was really masterful in those. I never really liked the babe in the car kind of imagery. But this is awesome. I mean, it's interior, it's dark. It just pulls. He's got to work for it. It's not like bright colors and sitting on a pink caddy or something like that. This is different, and it kind of harkens back to the quality of his work that I think we all grew up enjoying, but from an era when he wasn't really doing a lot of that. So no, that's a good one.
Yeah. And that kind of takes you through the floor session of the sale. And I think the other things I pulled are some things from the final session that I think are still really, they don't have a lot of action on them yet. There's a lot of days before the auction, but they kind of give you a sense of, some other ways you can kind of get into illustration art if you're interested in kind of learning more about it, or you're looking for gifts. The holidays are coming up. Like we've got a really strong section of like planes, trains, and automobiles art. A lot of it is from the Bob and Diane Yazpan collection. He's really, really strong into automotive art, and this is one of the coolest ones. This kind of car dealership of the future.
Yeah, I love it. Those trees are so, they're mesmerizing. But I look at them, but then you look at the cars, and it's like, dang, this is a fun illustration. So George Anderson. Let's see, when was this one done?
So yeah, this one is, this one is like 1950s. Yeah, it's hard to know exactly when it was done, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think we had a date on it.
I like this next illustration a lot.
Oh my God, this one is so good. Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah, I was looking at this one earlier. It's just got so much detail in it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And who is the artist?
It's Henry Pitts. Yeah. And he's kind of like a turn of the 20th century artist, and this is really typical of the sort of like fantastic, like fantasy art. Like this is really typical of fantasy art in the early 20th century. And yeah, I mean, it's just got so much texture and just it almost did, you could harken it back to Treebeard, sort of, like you can really just feel the way that the landscape is a character in the scene.
Oh yeah. I mean, when we look at the textures there, I can see Ian Miller in some of this stuff. I mean, look at that.
Oh God, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? But it's true. Yeah. Wow.
You can definitely see Fabian. Yeah. You can see a lot Fabian of things. Too. That's the thing. We're all just kind of generation after generation, just picking up on what we learned to read visually as we were kids.
Indeed, yeah. I like this one a lot. And look, it's only $310.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm gonna set that one aside too.
Yeah.
Go back to that. So next up, Harry Barton, Nude.
Yeah, another paperback cover. Yeah, I mean, I think I just love pieces that are just doing a tiny bit more than they need to, and I think and this is one of the ones that is just doing a tiny bit more than it needs to. If you think about the way that this was going to reproduce on the paperback, like the little details and what's happening with the toiletries themselves, with the way that the towel is draped, with the way that the way that he's really paying some attention to how how the mirror is working in the scene to do the storytelling. It's just cool.
Yeah, and he's staring her right in the eyes, which is nice. Very respectful of him. But yeah, I had to look at the way they did the with the title for the book. I wasn't quite sure where they were going to put it, but no, I mean that's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here you go. Here's the other cigarette painting.
Oh yeah, the other cigarette and another hand. I mean, not just the cigarette. That same thing where the it doesn't have the issue of the perspective we were talking about, but it does have that same sense that you have to read the book because you have to find out who is attached to that hand. Also, what is he doing? Yeah, like what is he doing with that cigarette? Somebody's going to get burned.
Exactly.
Which I think is both metaphor and just fact. Yeah.
No, it's just
I also love those blues are not a common color to see used in that way.
No, but it works well with the oranges and the flesh tones and the whites. But so it's uncredited. Is that the case? I'm looking at least at the title. I don't see just as American artist.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, there were, because there were a number of people, working, in kind of similar styles at that period, and we could hazard some guesses, but without really being able to prove it. All you can do is acknowledge that whoever it was, deserved the job.
Yeah. No, the blues are so strong that it's like the turquoise. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This one.
And this is it's hard not to not to want to just get a chance to talk about Kunstler for a minute. Again, people we said goodbye to, and Just like just to talk about just how much absurdity is going on in the adventure magazines of that period. You know,
Right.
just like all of the shattered glass and the way that it's just, you know, like the way the shattered glass just is the kind of like dominant thing that you can tell he's interested in the composition. Um, you know, it's almost like he knows how absurd a job he was trying to do was, and I just love that for it. I love it for that. You know?
Yeah, no, it's he really paid a lot of attention to the two male figures, the female figures,
Yeah,
kind of like almost an afterthought. He wanted to get the looks and the you can look at the detail in the face here and the female in
yeah,
the back. She, she's kind of an afterthought. Two guys brawling is far
yeah.
more important.
I
That's
feel like
fun.
that might actually also be the story sometimes.
How your boss spies on you. Nice.
Yeah, I don't even know how that relates to it, but you know.
No. Let's see here. So let's see. This is a Moon City. It's a Collier's magazine interior from 1946.
Yeah. It's again that, you know, that thing where people are starting to try to figure out what it would be like to colonize the moon, you know? And I just really, you know, again, I just picked this one because I'm like, man, that would be a beautiful thing to hang on your wall, you know? It's just so well done. The artist Leidenfrost, he's really great. I think he's really underappreciated. We have a couple of other examples by him in the sale, but he really worked in kind of this kind of like not science fiction, but really like kind of like this kind of speculative vein about what the potentials of kind of like human technology could be. A lot of times he did a lot of like action and aviation things too, and just he's so good, and he needs to be more well known. And also that's just something that I could see hanging in a lot of homes.
This next piece is a good illustration too.
Yeah. Okay. So I just am like, somehow, how have people not found this one yet? This is a paperback cover. Yeah. What is it? The Doomsday. What's the next word?
The Doomsday Carrier.
The Doomsday Carrier. I have to admit, I haven't read the book, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, yeah, it's both a little, yeah. It's kind of prescient to, you know, like all sorts of conversations that are happening now in certain ways. It's kind of got a lot of like those things that we were talking about just like the ways in which, you know, science fiction covers used to be developed with kind of a little bit of, you know, kind of abstraction and metaphor. James Barkley, he is a really incredibly respected illustrator who has had a really storied career, and just somehow his work hasn't gotten on the market very much, so not that many collectors of original art are familiar with him. But, you know, he's so good, he's so inventive, and this piece in particular, you know, it's thought-provoking, it's got great usage, it's really, you know, it's really strong to look at. And yeah, I think the bidding on it should you know, get a little bit more aggressive. Let's put it that way, because I love it.
I do too. I love the way the kind of the smoky clouds are rendered there. That's kind of a scratch board sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Now, Phil Hale next up.
Yeah. Yeah.
This could have been in the main one. I mean,
it certainly could have been in the main one. You know, I think that there's no question it could have been in the main one. You know, the way we pick what's in the main one isn't always just a question of, you know, straight value or anything like that. There's a lot of things in the final session that are, you know, they're going to land at prices that are, you know, equal and surpassing some of the things in the floor session. Some of it is, I think that I want to make sure, you know, every Phil hail collector, knows this is in the sale. I want to make sure that, we're talking about it and we're getting it out to people. And I also think I'm really happy to have him in an illustration sale at all, because I think that it's really important that we're talking about him as an illustrator, and we're beginning to kind of just really give it all a little bit more of the context of just talking about just how powerful the art is, and how devoted he is to his technique and his process, and just I would have loved to be able to put it all in the main session, but then, it would have been like a filibuster in Congress. The auctioneers would have fallen to the ground. We would have had a 24-hour auction. But
you gotta make tough decisions sometimes.
I know, and this was a tough one, but but people are finding it. I think I haven't seen that many of these come up to auction, to be honest, but
No, I mean, you tend to see more of those little skull paintings that he did, right? Yeah. I mean, but those aren't. If I were to get, and those are sort of affordable in their own way. But I wouldn't want one. If I'm going to get a filial, I'd want to get something like this.
Yeah.
So this is very desirable. Yeah. You're a fan of his work for sure. Yeah, I like this one a lot, and it's huge, right? It's 4 foot by 2 foot.
Yeah, and this is a big one. Yeah.
All right, so something by Rowena.
Yeah, and I mean, this is again we're going back to the thing where somehow tonight when I was picking these, I was just obsessed with the process pieces. This is one of her Tolkien studies, and it's beautiful. You don't think of her in terms of her pencils. You think of her in terms of those just super duper, high sheen, perfect. You can't see a single brush stroke on them, like paintings. But this, it's really, it's really touching. And it's also, again, the pieces, the Tolkien pieces don't come out that much. So this is an opportunity to get one of those.
Yeah, it's very nice. You're right. You don't see too much of her work, like pencil work. Yeah. So no, this is pretty nice. And again, like you said, it's from the Lord of the Rings Tolkien calendar. So yeah. another thing that adds a little bit of interest to it.
Yeah.
Now, next one is pretty cool. Another Dave Stevens piece, which those don't come up too often at all.
Exactly.
So Perils of Gwendolyn. In the Land of Yik Yak, a movie poster. Yeah. Not familiar with this movie, but I know this piece was pretty large, wasn't it?
This is a pretty large piece too.
20 by 30.
20 by 30. Yeah, and I mean, I think that that movie, if somebody was familiar with it, they probably love it or hate it. It's got its fan base.
Okay.
But I mean, this is just wild. And I mean, this is just wild. That's the word I want to use for it, and it's Dave Stevens,
Mm-hmm. No, it's very, very cool. From what year? Let's see, is it dated? Let's see. Just curious here.
84. I always had to put that on the wall in Marcus in Albert's booth. Yeah.
In Albert's
was
booth,
it the highlight? Was it the highlight of your week?
Yeah, it's probably happy not to be hanging that one up on Albert's wall again. But yeah, I know I've seen it before.
Yeah, exactly.
It has been around some shows, but no, it's awesome. Mm-hmm. Again, like you say, where are you going to find Dave Stevens that size with a female figure on it? Painted. Not going to happen too often. All right, so
I mean, in this one, oh god, if we were going from the absurdist high camp of that one to just something that is just kind of traditionally beautiful, this is about as hefty of a transition as you can make, And I'm gonna say that I have never been very good at pronouncing this artist's name, but he's like most known for his Return of the Jedi work, and it never got made into a poster. They went a different way, but this was for Romancing the Stone. Mm-hmm. This was movie poster art for Romancing the Stone, and I just think it's I don't know, it's as beautiful as anything can be. It just feels like you're falling into that forest.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. I love the colors in it that just carries through into the figures like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to try saying his name either. But no, I think it's gorgeous, and it's kind of a larger piece as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean it's just the mist. It actually is it's in 2 layers where there is a bit of an overlay, so the texture does come by it. Yeah, a little bit naturally.
But lighting,
exactly. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 2 more to look at, I think.
Oh my gosh, 2 more to look at. Yeah. And this is another one where I'm like, how has somebody not found that and just realized that they love it? It's so fun. Yeah.
So what's this?
Creepy. It's scary. It's really early. Yeah. And
Brant.
I mean, and actually going from the Romancing the Stone one to this one, it has a lot of that same vibe, that same mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not familiar with the artist Brant Hoffman Alexander.
I'm not terribly familiar with the artist. I've seen some of their work come up a lot, but they're not terribly well known, but they are very talented, and they were, and I don't know what this was for, unfortunately.
Okay, and what did you choose for the final piece tonight?
I chose, because I wanted to say, just remember, everybody, it's time to start on your holiday shopping.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is amazing. This is another process piece. This is for an Advent calendar that Leo and Diane Dillon did. So this is one of the pieces of the Advent calendar, and it's everything I love about them.
And so, this is a study for that. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun, and it's fun. It's easy. It's approachable. And I hope that it encourages everybody to look through the whole sale, because that gave you some of the highlights of the heavy hitters, some of the highlights of, some of the stuff that you might not have seen already, but there's so much more to the sale. And also I want to end on that one because maybe if I'm lucky, I'll come back once more this year. We do have an incredible single owner paperback sale coming up in December that I'm very excited about. But if I don't, I do want to say happy holidays. So
thank you. Happy holidays to you too. Well, you'll
very early. I know Halloween. We're not even in Halloween yet, but yeah.
So when would the next major signature auction be then?
The next major signature auction is going to be in the spring.
It'll be after OAX. So
yeah, it'll be after OAX. But yeah, before then we have the Signet New American Library paperback sale. We're going to have another pulp paperback in the science fiction showcase sale. Who knows what else we'll get in? We also have already live for bidding a Al Hirschfeld sale from the Margot Feiden archive, who was his artist representative for a long time. So we are doing more and more and more and more. But
exactly, you don't just need a signature auction to have a good illustration auction at Heritage right now. No, that's very, very true. You've been working very hard.
Yes.
Sarahjane, to pull these all together. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. Yeah, one thing there's so many auctions going on at Heritage right now. We have to figure out better ways to promote them, because we're used to just importing like one signature auction and one weekly auction at a time. Yeah. But now with your animation, the auctions on Tuesday and the regular comics one on Wednesday, and so many specialty auctions happening so frequently. We've been trying to rethink the way we handle some of that stuff, because there's just so much good stuff to promote, and we can't do it all at one time, but we're going to figure out a way to do it.
Yes. But I think we're having the same not challenge, but we're asking the same questions, and if anybody has any feelings, like, we don't want to just be spamming people with emails, but we also want to make sure that, if there are things like, I don't think a Frazetta is the thing that gets lost, but if there are Frazettas coming up in, 3 different categories and, 3 different sales, making sure that everybody who might want to know about them does know about them. Or, if there are people who they're collecting specific, styles or specific artists, we want to make sure that we are giving you, your best chance to know when things you're going to love are coming up for sale.
Exactly. And I know that Heritage is very category driven in the way, they market things, like the Del Toro auction was underneath entertainment, versus, art. I mean, I think sometimes there's just so much there that it's, but again, we have the same problem that you guys feel probably you have, that there's just so much stuff out there and there's so much crossover. It's like, how do you pick the right pieces to remind people that there's so much great stuff out there? We'll work on it.
And I want to say that's why I really appreciate, I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate the opportunities you've been, given me to come and talk to everybody and talk with you, because I do think there's so much crossover. There's so much interest. I always learn so much.
So do I, and hopefully everybody in the chat does too. Mm-hmm. Man, well, hey, it was. It's great seeing you not in your business suit this last weekend, albeit for just 2 minutes. But yes, but that was fun. I'm glad you got out to that show. But but this auction is coming up. It ends next Tuesday, starting at noon Central. Noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, for those of you who are looking to bid on some pieces in here. So just keep that in mind. And if you haven't signed up for a Heritage mailing list, you should do so right away. And I think Heritage does a good job of letting you kind of pick and choose the kind of categories of things that you want to get, if you haven't done that already, because, I think I need to get back in there and probably massage a couple of the things that I've set up too long ago.
Yeah. And I mean, and I will say, this is getting a little bit into the weeds for people, but if you do have want lists that they are artist driven, make sure that you do have them set for all categories, because that is the main place where people miss things. Like if you do, like if you do want to know about Bernie Wrightson and you only have it under comics, you're not going to see it when it comes up in like entertainment or something, so make sure you set your filters for all categories. That's my Heritage pro tip of the evening.
No, I completely agree, because I had people tell me specifically about that with the Del Toro one, that that they missed out if they didn't see us talk about it when we did the preview. It was a short window to kind of get it announced and have it out there. But you're right, the rights and stuff won't come up in your keywords if you're only looking for comic art. You said it that way because it was in the entertainment category. The Heritage didn't even give me the market data after the show like they normally would, because it fell outside of the categories that I've selected. I actually had to ask them to send me a file for it. So anyway, well, these are good problems to have, but we're going to be addressing them internally too, so we make sure we do a better job, just so you guys know. But all right, well, listen, everybody, we appreciate you hanging out with us this evening. Sarahjane, it's always a pleasure to get to talk with you about the illustration auctions, and hopefully we'll be able to get another one of these in before the end of the year, and if not, we'll see you in the new year.
Oh my goodness, not ready to think about that, even though I'm the one who opened the door to it.
Exactly. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you again soon.